Hey, how's it going? So let's go ahead and get started. We're looking at the Unit 2, Part 1 test study guide. So question 1, given the angle 26 pi over 5, answer the following questions. So now Part A says convert the angle that is given from radians to degrees. When you're converting from radians to degrees, let's go ahead and get here. You are going to multiply by 180 over pi. When you're going from radians to degrees, you don't have to concern yourself with simplifying it for a form of pi, things of that nature. Just give me the answer as is. So this will be 936 degrees here for part A. So now taking that number, it says find the coterminal angle between 0 and 360. 936 is greater than 360, so you will be subtracting 360 each time to get an angle between 0 and 360. The key thing is their angle between 0 and positive 360. So if your angle is like negative 28, that doesn't count. It has to be between 0 and 360 if it specifies this. All right. If it just says find the coterminal angle, you can just add 360 or subtract 360 as many times as you want, and all of those values are going to be coterminal angles. So with that being said, we got 936. We're looking for the coterminal angle between 0 and 360. So I had to keep subtracting 360 until I get into that strike zone, which is 216 degrees. Now, part C says find the reference angle for the angle given. Use the angle from part B. So for the reference angle of 216 degrees, you got to think about what quadrant that's in. 216 is in quadrant 3 because it's greater than 180, but it's less than 270. So in order to find your reference angle for an angle in quadrant 3, you're going to take the angle minus 180. So then that answer will be 36 degrees. As a reminder, if you're trying to find the reference angle, if the angle's in quadrant 1, the angle is the reference angle. If it's in quadrant 2, you will take 180 minus the angle to get the reference angle. If it's in quadrant 3, like we just did, is the angle minus 180. And if it's in quadrant 4, you will take 360 minus the angle. Remember, the reference angle is the distance away from the x-axis. So now let's go ahead and look at number 2. Given the angle negative 772, answer the questions below. Find the coterminal angle between 0 and 360. So now here we have negative 772, which is less than 0. So then now we're going to have to keep adding 360 to get in our strike zone. Now we added it twice and we got negative 52. That's not in our strike zone because it specifies between 0 and 360. So it's a 0 and positive 360. So I have to add 360 one more time. So my answer is going to be 308 degrees. Part B says find the reference angle for the angle given. So now 308, like we just discussed, that's in quadrant 4. So you would take 360 minus 308 degrees and you would get 52 degrees. That's part B here. Now it says convert the angle negative 772 from degrees to radians. So in order to convert from degrees to radians, you're going to multiply by pi over 180. And you're like, wait, okay, I get negative 13.47. That's cool. But your answers, a lot of times, I'm going to ask you for the exact value. So that means all this means is this is an irrational number. So that means pi is in your answer somehow. So you can simplify 770 negative 772 pi over 180. You can simplify that. But if you want like a shortcut of simplifying, you can take negative 772 divided by 180 and it's going to simplify it for you. But you have to remember that, oh, let me make sure I put pi back in my answer. So it's negative 193 pi over 45. And as you see, you get your same answer here as you get here because they're the same value. We just simplify it. And this is the form of pi here. All right, so your answer here will be negative 193 pi over 45. So now we're looking at number 3. For number 3, use the angle picture to the left. What is a cosine, sine, and a tangent? All right, so if I'm looking for the cosine of an angle, I'm looking for the x value. The y value is the sine, while tangent is the y divided by the x, the sine divided by cosine. So if I wanted to find the cosine, it'll be negative 0.6536. If I wanted to find the sine, it'll be negative 0.7568. If I wanted to find a tangent, I have to take the sine divided by the cosine. So that negative 0.7568 divided by negative 0.6536. And you get 1.15789 and so forth. You can round it to whatever decimal you want because I didn't specify which one I wanted you to round to. All right. So that'll be the tangent because we took the sine divided by the cosine. So now let's go ahead and look at number 4. Well, no, before we look at number 4, let's go back for a second. I just want to remind you that cosine, sine, cosine, and tangent, these are all associated with a coordinate point. the point itself, the x is the cosine, the y is the sine. Sine divided by cosine, y divided by x is your tangent. All right. So now, if I look at number 4, express the function cosine 153 as a different equivalent angle. And we're going to be doing that for all three of these. So steps between here, you need to look at 153. Okay, what quadrant is that in? That's in quadrant 2. So now it's cosine positive or negative in that quadrant. Cosine is negative in quadrant 2, so then you got to think about where else is cosine negative. Cosine is also negative in quadrant 3. So that means my answer is coming from quadrant 3. But I need to find the angle that's in quadrant 3 that has the same reference angle as the cosine of 153. So now I need to find the reference angle of 153, which is 27. So now I need to find the angle that's in quadrant 3 with the same reference angle. Just if you're looking at a unit circle, if I know I'm in this quadrant, my answer, and my reference angle is 27, that means my angle is going to be 180 plus that 27, which is 207. So if I type in cosine of 207 and I type in a cosine of 153, I should get my same value, which I do. So my answer, correct answer, is going to be cosine of 207 degrees. Now let's go ahead and look at number 5, tangent of 251. So think about what quadrant is this in? This is in quadrant 3. And then tangent is positive in quadrant 3 because sine and cosine are both negative, so tangent is positive. Where else is tangent positive? Quadrant 1. So then now I'm going to find the reference angle of 251 by taking 251 minus 180, and then I'm going to find the angle that's in quadrant 1 with the same reference angle. But in quadrant 1, the reference angle is the angle. All right, so that means it should be tangent of 71 should be the same thing as tangent of 251, and it is correct. So the answer here is tangent 71. Now let's look at the last one. If I look at sine of 274, remember past 270 we're in quadrant 4, so now we're looking at quadrant 4. Sine is negative in quadrant 4 because it's a y value. Where else is sine negative? Quadrant 3. So my answer is going to be in quadrant 3. So now I need to find the reference angle of 274 by taking 360 minus that, and I get 86. So now I need to find the angle that's in quadrant 3 with a reference angle of 86 by adding 86 to 180. And I get 266. So that means sine of 266 should be the same thing as sine of 274. And it is. So this is my correct answer. All right. So now we're looking at number 7. Now let's look at all the characteristics. Now, the reason I have the scientific calculator over here is because this is the one that you're going to have on your assessment. You will not have the graphing calculator. All right. So let's go ahead and look here. Use the graph below to answer the questions below. All right. So now, if my maximum is -1 and my minimum is -7, you can go ahead and fill those in. You can find the average of those. So then you would be able to take -1 plus -7 and divide by 2. And then that's going to be my midline, which is -4. So this is a smooth value, so you can easily see it. But even if you can't, you still should be able to find the midline. All right, now that we have our midline of -4, remember the amplitude is the distance from our midline to our maximum. So if our midline is -4, my maximum is -1, that distance is 3. And remember, you can go from midline to minimum as well. That distance is also 3. So my amplitude is 3. So now we have our midline of -4, we have our amplitude of 3. Let's go ahead and start creating those equations. I know I have my midline of -4, so that goes on the back end. And I have my amplitude of, what, 3? So that goes on the front end. All right. So now if you look at this graph carefully, you're able to notice that it crosses the y-axis at my maximum. So if I'm writing cosine, I don't even need a phase shift. All I need to do is find my frequency and put it right here, and I'm done. So then now let's go ahead and find our frequency. But before we do that, we got to find our period. All right. So if you look at here, it starts at the maximum. And then where does it hit the maximum again? 4 pi over 3. So my period is 4 pi over 3. But that is not my frequency, and the period does not go in our equation. In order to find your frequency, you have to take 2 pi divided by the period, which is 4 pi over 3. And you get 1.5 or 3 over 2. So then we can write our cosine equation as 3 cosine 3 over 2x minus 4. Now, if we're looking at sine, sine is a little different because it's not crossing This graph is not crossing my y-axis at my midline and increasing like a traditional sine graph would. It would cross here and it would be increasing. So then how far away from the y-axis is it crossing my midline and increasing? You can say pi, you can say 7 pi over 3, you can say 11 pi over 3. You can even also say going to the left pi over 3. So for me, we got to have the same frequency, so put 3 over 2. I'll do the closest one. So that's pi over 3 to the left, so then I will put plus pi over 3. But remember, you could have put minus pi. That would be the same answer. Or minus 7 pi over 3. Those are all going to be equivalent because that's where it crosses my midline and increasing. All right. Because your traditional sine crosses here. So then if I move it to the left, pi over 3, I'll be on. When I move it to the right, pi, or 7 pi over 3, or 11 pi over 3, I'll be on as well. So this is my one of my sine options. There's many options that you can write your equation as. And this is my cosine. All right. So now let's go ahead and look at an equation and label the same characteristics. So then now we're looking at an equation. So then now let's go ahead and start with our midline is 4. That's on the back end right here. And then our amplitude is 13. That goes on the front end. The b is our frequency. So that's the 2 pi over 9. Because remember, frequency is in our equation, not period. So if I want to find my period, just how I took 2 pi divided by the period to get the frequency, I'm going to take 2 pi divided by the frequency and get the period. So my period is 9 here. All right. We got the period now, 2 pi over, we got the period is 9. We got the frequency is 2 pi over 9. The max, so if the midline is 4, my amplitude is 13. So that means 13 is the distance from the midline to my maximum. So 4 plus 13 gives me 17. So that's my maximum. 4 minus 13 gives me -9. So that's my minimum. And then the phase shift is going to the left pi over 3 because it's the opposite sign of what you naturally think when you're talking about a horizontal shift. All right. And let's say I gave you the period first, and I said, oh, the period is 9, right? And you want to find the frequency. You would take 2 pi over 9. When you're dividing out, sometimes it gives you a smooth number like this or give you a smooth fraction like this. If it does not give you a smooth fraction like it does in here, that means pi is in your answer. So let's say I had another one. Let's say I took 2 pi divided by like 10 or something, right? And it gives you a decimal like this and it doesn't give you a smooth fraction. That just means pi is in your answer. So then just delete pi and then you got your fraction. Now you have 1 pi over 5. All right. Now, if it already gives you a fraction, don't just add pi there. You only put pi there if you know you've purposefully deleted it out. All right. If you didn't, like you didn't here, you don't put 9 pi, you just leave it as 9. You don't put 3 pi over 2, you just leave it as 3 over 2. So now we're going to look at our last one. So we have a word problem here. But regardless, the biggest thing is we have a graph and let's come up with the equations and the characteristics. So I'm gonna kind of hold it right. I guess I can hold it right here. All right, so we can see everything we need. So let's go ahead and go through our equations, and as we go through those, we'll be able to state our characteristics. So let's start the midline. If my maximum is 800, if my maximum is 800 and my minimum is 200, I would take 800 plus 200 divided by 2, and I will get 500. So my midline is 500. So put plus 500 on the back end of both of these equations. And then on the front end goes my amplitude. So if my maximum is 800, how far is 500 away from 800? 300. Or you can say how far is 500 away from 200? It's still 300. All right. So then now let's go ahead and put our parentheses x here and discuss our frequency in period. So we have a graph so we can find our period, and then we're going to use it to find our frequency. So you can go from max to max or minimum to minimum if it doesn't cross it smooth, right? So if my maximum is at 6 and my another maximum is at 14, that distance is 8. Or like if I look at my minimums at 2 and my minimums at 10, that distance is 8. So what that's telling me is that's my period. My period is 8. That doesn't go in my equation, but my period is 8. So then I would take 2 pi divided by 8, and that's my frequency. But I wouldn't put 0.785398. I want the simplified form of it. So what that tells me is I must have pi in my answer. So let me go ahead and delete pi and get this simplified expression. And then now I can put pi back in my answer. So I can have 1 pi over 4. And as you can see, that's the same thing as 2 pi over 8. You don't have to do it that way. You could look at 2 pi over 8 and say, what can go into 2 and 8? 2 can go into 2 one time. 2 can go into A 4 times. You can simplify it like that. That's how I would prefer you to simplify it. I just want to show you another way that if you're struggling with simplifying, it's a safety net of how to be able to get to your solution. So now we have pi over 4 as our frequency. All right. So then now let's go ahead and put that there. Pi over 4. Pi over 4. So now we have it here. It crosses, it does not cross at my midline and increasing like it would on a sine graph, nor does it cross the y-axis at my maximum. So I'm gonna need a phase shift for both of these. So let's start with cosine. Cosine we know naturally crosses at my maximum, but it doesn't here. So then you say, well, where's my maximum at? It's at 6. So if I took that parent cosine function and I move it to the right 6, I'm at this graph. So I need to move the cosine to the right 6. So I put minus 6. You also could have moved it to the right 14. That would have been fine as well. All right. So now let's look at the sine. So now if we know we have a minimum at 2 and we have a maximum at 6, if I find the average between those, that's going to tell me where my midline is. So that means that 4 is going to cross my midline. And I can tell that it's increasing here. That's why I didn't do between 6 and 10, because it's decreasing. Even if I find a midline of 8, it's still increasing. Parent sine function crosses the midline and increasing. So I need to find that. So I know it's happening at 4. So what that tells me is if the parent sine function crosses the midline and increases at the y-axis, I need to move that function to the right 4 to be able to match up and be this equation. So then I would put to the right 4. But I also could go to the right with that 12. All right. But we'll go to the right 4. So this is my sine equation while this is my cosine equation, and they should match. All right. So that's everything for Unit 2, Part 1 Test Study Guide. If question concerns, feel free to let me know or send a message to communicate with me. Have a blessed day.